losing to the Tennessee Titans. Now, the Eagles, not to panic, right? It says 2-2. It's a bad start. You can't. If you're a Super Bowl champion, you don't want to start like that. You want to. Well, look, it's early in the year. I mean, there's teams that start 2-2, 1-3, and they'll be fine. They'll make the playoffs. So it's the Minnesota Vikings. I will say no. They can't afford to lose. Will they lose is get into in a couple of minutes. As I promoted here on the show, we will do a pick segment at 11:15. So all you guys out there that are interested in the lines and the picks, and if you go ahead and wager in New Jersey, or you go online and you do your own wagering, you want to find out who's going to win, what's the best lines out there, what's the best picks. We will talk about that coming up here in about a half hour. So we'll discuss the games yesterday on the website. Undefeated, perfect. Florida won. Pittsburgh, UCLA covered, Texas A&M covered. I mean, it was unbelievable yesterday how many games. Clemson, Kansas, a complete swipe of 8-0 yesterday on GodfatherLocks.com. Just a complete run of 8-0-1 in college football this week. So week 6 of college football, unscathed, no losses. So that just goes to show you how focused we are at GodfatherLocks.com. You can go ahead, check it out for yourself, and look at all of the green wins that we've compiled over the last 15 days. Actually, we've dominated, and we've given out free picks on the show. Last week, the Patriots, right? We told you the Patriots were going to lose to the Dolphins. They go out and blast them, and we got a big win there last week, and then a couple college wins last Saturday. So coming up at 11:15, we'll do segment. At 11:30, we'll talk fantasy football. The Le'Veon Bell situation continues to get a lot of steam, and still people are talking about whether or not the Pittsburgh Steelers should or should not trade him. And I'm from the school of, look, if you're going to, you want to try to get something for Le'Veon Bell, you just don't want to, see him walk out the door come end of the season, and all of a sudden you miss out on the opportunity of getting anything for Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell is a stud running back that people will pay. I think when you hear the saying of, showing interest, right? Certain teams are showing interest in Le'Veon Bell. Showing interest in actually giving a lot for him is two different things, right? You want to try to bargain and figure out a way to get the most you can get for Le'Veon Bell, and I think that's what the Steelers need to do. They just can't come away with nothing from the situation. So we'll get into that as well. I know you're Pittsburgh Steelers fans, that listen to the show. You guys are all vocal about the Le'Veon Bell situation, and I know some people have said, "Look, got to get his right. You want to make sure he gets paid for what he's worth." And look, you saw what happened to Earl Thomas last Sunday. He flips the finger to the sideline because he needed a deal, right? He needed to get paid. That was his goal, his holdout. And all of a sudden he gets hurt. Tears his ACL. He's out for the season, and now he's screwed. Right? He's screwed out of money. So Earl Thomas is the perfect example of why Le'Veon Bell is doing what he's doing. And now I know the story came out that he's going to come back after the bye week in week 7 or week 8. I mean, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, do you even welcome him back at that point? Right? He soured your team. They're 1-2-1. They've got a tough game today against Atlanta, who's hungry for a win at 1-3. So that's going to be another interesting game we talk about coming up in a couple of minutes. But if you're Le'Veon Bell, you saw what happened to Earl Thomas. I don't know how anybody out there can sit there and rip Le'Veon for doing what he's doing. I think he's obviously weighing his options. He's obviously seeing that this league, it could take one hit, it could take one play, and you're done for. So this ongoing saga of Le'Veon Bell, if you're a team out there, I know Philadelphia was interested. I know the Jets were interested. I saw Tampa Bay a few weeks ago had some interest, even though they've got some young studs down there, Peyton Barber being one of them. But they threw their name in the hat. I mean, there's teams out there that need running back help that are contenders. There's a bunch. I mean, off the top of my head, we just named the Eagles and the Jets. I mean, Jets now losing a couple in a row, came back down to earth after they blew out the Lions there in week 1. But you talk about the Eagles, right? We mention the Eagles here on the show every Sunday. They're a hot topic. And the Eagles could absolutely, what team in the NFL is not going to use Le'Veon Bell, right? I mean, the kid's the next generation running back. He's a stud. You can't argue the fact that he's holding out. He wants to get paid. I know, Joe and I talked about it a couple weeks ago. The guy wants to get paid. Right? You can't, you can't fault the guy for wanting to get paid for what he feels like he's worth. And not to mention, Earl Thomas in the defensive side of the ball, these running backs take blows to their head. Their bodies get thrown around like rag dolls every week, all season long. And the shelf life for a running back is very slim, very short. So I can't argue it. I don't see how anybody out there can sit there and rip Le'Veon Bell for doing what he's doing. If you're a team that's interested, I would say make a play for it. And if you're a fan of one of your teams, would you or would you not want him? I think it's 99% of my audience, whether on YouTube now, and you see my link on YouTube, that Joe from JDM Photography had helped me set up. We got that rolling on YouTube. Go to my Facebook page. Go to my Twitter page. You can see the YouTube link. I know some people may or may not have Facebook. Let's try to rev up the YouTube link, and you could, we could see you live. You could see me live on YouTube and on Facebook. Now, the chat room, how to connect with the show. There's plenty of ways you can connect. I'm on Facebook Live. If you guys notice, I kind of look down every couple seconds to the right here. This is what I've got going on. This is the iPad strolling the show. So I have to physically see the comments coming through so we can discuss what you guys have to say. There's also the Mixlr app, which is strictly audio. If you don't want to see my ugly face, you can go to Mixlr, mixlr.com/Joe-Eunice. You can listen to me live on the audio portion. The video portion is live on Facebook and YouTube. So the comments, if you need to reach me, you can reach me. Go to Twitter at JOEYOUNES15 on Twitter as well, and you can connect to the show. How is this show made possible? The premier sponsors of the show every week: Red Jewelers, the law offices of Albert Yakub, The Cut, your Lehigh Valley Realtor Eli Boutros, Laziz Mediterranean Grill, Biagio Pizzeria, JDM Photography, of course, who's made this all happen, and Meza Middle Eastern Restaurant. Those 8 fine places, local businesses, local people have supported the show, and I'll give you guys some mentions throughout the show on what to do if you're looking for a fine place to eat, a lawyer, a jeweler, or a haircut, or anything. You're looking for a photographer or a home to sell. We've got you covered. Those are your top 8 premier sponsors and advertisers who have made this show possible. And I put out a statement the other day on my Facebook page thanking not only listeners of the show, but also my advertisers that have allowed me to do this every Saturday and Sunday. Because if you do something for free, it's hard to have that passion for it. You want to make sure you get everybody accommodated and taken care of. So I know you guys continue to support and to do this for the listeners, right? People, this is what makes the show across the board. It's anything goes. Let's hear it. Let's talk about it. I know it's an NFL Sunday. The big talk of sports was this whole Khabib versus McGregor fight yesterday. I know a lot of people discussed what happened in that fight. I watched it after I swept the board in college football. I had such a great day yesterday that I'm sitting there. I'm like, you know what? I have it on my TV, on my box. I'm like, I'll watch it. I'm not much of a UFC fan. I know you guys know that about me. That's probably the only sport. I mean, I know tons about sports when we call them esports, right? We call them the other sports. Tennis, golf. I can have discussions about NASCAR if you want me to. But UFC, I just kind of, not that I'm not into it. It's always the weekend of the weak part of the sports landscape is UFC. And then when I see this whole fight being promoted, I know maybe Joe, did you watch the fight?
I did.
You did. Okay. So we'll get Joe's input coming up here in about a couple minutes here because Joe watched it, and he probably knows more about UFC than I do. But I'm seeing all this, the fight, then I'm seeing the reaction, and then I'm like, this is the craze that Conor McGregor, who was a beast in UFC for a long time, and then he went away a little bit, fought Mayweather in that money-making match with Floyd Mayweather, got his paycheck, right? Went on a hiatus for a little bit.
Absolutely, $100 billion.
Yeah, but he was out of UFC for a while, though, for like 2 years, wasn't it? Or like a year and change?
Yeah, he was doing something, but I'm pretty sure he was still training.
Yeah, for sure. These guys have to stay in shape, but I think he was out of the scenery, I guess you could say. He was off the scenery for a little bit. And then he comes back and fights this Khabib dude that took over the world. I mean, this guy, his record was unblemished, 26-0, I believe. Not only was the fight crazy, but it was the pandemonium that ensued afterwards that, when you're watching sports and you see managers and athletes and guys going at it, it reminds me of the WWE, right? When Paul Heyman gets attacked by Roman Reigns, for example, it's hard not to read a storyline or a headline and see how crazy it could be when a fighter goes after a manager or goes into his corner and starts to attack that person. Now, he did win. Khabib is undefeated still, and he kept the belt.
He won, but he lost.
Yeah, exactly. He won, but he lost. And that's kind of a way to say it. But now, I think for the most part, what are people's thoughts on the fight? It's always open on the forum. Did you think? I know he was the favorite, and I look at the gambling aspect. Khabib was a favorite. He was minus 170, I think, as the fight started going into it. He was the favorite going in. But it seemed like, old school UFC fans, diehard UFC fans, they were all taking Khabib, and then the guys that casually watch it were like, McGregor's he's an underdog. He's plus 150. Give me a shot at McGregor. Did you think Khabib was going to win, or did you think McGregor was a winner? What'd you like going into it? Who were you?
Going into it, I'm a McGregor fan.
Okay. Yeah.
I like him because basically he's like us. Mm-hmm. He grew up dirt poor, and and he fought and climbed his way to the top, and he earned it and deserved it, and he walks it and he talks it.
Yeah.
He doesn't say no. You want to fight? We're gonna fight. That's it.
Yeah.
Win,
His
lose,
attitude.
I don't care.
His attitude is. Yeah.
You saw his swagger in the ring.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what Irishman comes out representing the Irish flag, super proud, which I'm not down in. That's good. That's pretty cool.
It's great. Yeah.
And then comes out playing Biggie. Come on, man.
Yeah, he's badass. He's got that
was
persona
awesome.
about him. I was cheering for him too, to be honest. But again, I'm not a huge UFC fan. I'm watching it strictly because I like his attitude. I like his badass persona.
Yeah.
I like his mouth, right? He talks shit. I love it. But that's why I was cheering for him. But then I talked to a guy. I actually was out 2 days ago doing some stuff, and I talked to a guy, and he's like, yo, who you betting on the UFC fight? And he knew I was a gambler, and I look at the stuff, and I don't give out a pick for the site or anything like that. But I said, how can you give me plus 150 for Conor McGregor? I mean, that's stealing money. I thought, looking at it from a gambling aspect. But the sharp bettors, people who are like, no, Khabib's a beast, undefeated. He's been terrorizing his opponents. You got to take the 170 and just take Khabib. And if McGregor wins, be happy because it's McGregor.
Well, yeah. Once there's money on the line, you have to look at he's my favorite because of this and because of that.
You can't have any
now
money.
you got to say, okay, put that to the side. Let's talk skills, pound for pound, and what's going on.
Yeah.
Stand-up game, McGregor.
Yeah.
Ground game, obviously. The other guy.
Yeah, of course, Khabib. Yeah, Khabib.
Great part.
No, it's okay, Khabib. But you're right. And some of the people were saying, well, Khabib was definitely the side to bet, right? Khabib was the favorite. He's been more in shape. He's been into it more. He's on top of the game. He's the next thing for UFC, right? The next dominant force.
Well, it's not that he was more in shape because remember, Conor McGregor has been in it for a long time and trains just as hard.
Oh, of course, yeah.
The problem is his ground game was just
neutralized. Yeah.
This guy's probably like an Olympic gold medalist so many times over.
Yeah.
His ground game was incredible.
Yeah.
And once someone like that has you on the ground, you can't do
anything, especially UFC. Nothing. Once you're on the ground, your back's on the ground. It's almost over.
He gets Mike Tyson on the ground. Mike Tyson ain't doing nothing.
Yeah. It stole Twitter last night. I mean, people on Twitter were talking about this fight. So I wanted. It's almost like when Alvarez fought Triple G. We talked about it a couple weekends ago. The fact that competitive fighting sports like the MMAs, the UFCs, the boxings, all this stuff, how popular is it right now in America compared to the other sports? I think UFC obviously is beating boxing tenfold. But to get your thoughts on that, if you guys have any thoughts on that fight last night, I'd love to hear it. Again, there's 4 ways. You can reach us anyway. YouTube, Facebook, Mixler app, Twitter. If you have comments on the fight, who were you rooting for? Did you think Conor McGregor would lose? Because again, he was the underdog. Khabib was the undefeated champ coming into it, and he takes home the victory. So if you watch that fight, what did you think about the aftermath? Right? I mean, I thought it was crazy to see it, but
you know what?
Yeah.
My favorite part was Dana White looks at him. He goes, "Where's my belt?" And Dana goes, "Bro, if I give you this belt right now."
Yeah.
And what he really wanted to say was, if I give you the belt right now, nobody's making it out this building.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a complete riot. Yeah.
Which, in my opinion, I know everybody has their own opinion. Everybody can disagree. To me, he won fair and square. And as soon as he made that decision to jump out the ring, you lost the belt.
Yeah,
you're done.
It takes away from the victory. Yeah.
Not only does it take away from the victory.
Yeah.
When you're a champion, you're supposed to act like a champion. As soon as you did that and attacked someone's coach, and then your coaches attacked the other guy,
it's ridiculous. It was like a club brawl, right? It was almost a brawl ensued. Kevin, first comment of the day, says Khabib is the god. Should be no rematch because McGregor didn't have a shot and he won't again. That's what I thought was more surprising is that McGregor, and I know you mentioned the ground game, he looked like he was behind the 8 ball the whole match. He just was outclassed. It's his first fight back in how long? If someone can get me the date, I should have wrote this down and put it in my notes. He's rusty. It happens. I mean, again, in shape, but off his game a little bit. You can't argue that. But I think it was more WWE-ish when he went after the coach afterwards. It was a WWE script, and it's like, what are you watching here? This guy's going after his coach. The coach is going after McGregor. It was nuts. It was just pandemonium. You know, that's the best way to put it.
I'm surprised he didn't leave that place in handcuffs.
Yeah, and that could have happened. But now some people also
it should happen.
It's some people say, well, it's not. It's Dana White enjoys that kind of stuff. I don't think so. This isn't.
No.
This isn't the WWE where Vince McMahon is scripting the fact that like okay, yesterday for example, there was that big pay-per-view in Australia in the morning for WWE, and they promoted this Undertaker Triple H last time ever match, right? So Triple H, who hasn't beaten the guy in 16 some odd years. Undertaker ended Shawn Michaels' career, all the stuff that happened in wrestling, back when wrestling was wrestling, right? They have this match that was promoted. Triple H beats, in one of the best matches I've seen in a long time, Triple H beats Undertaker, gets revenge. So afterwards, him and Shawn Michaels are picking him up. They have this great scene where it's Kane, Undertaker, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels kind of like holding hands right up in the sky. 4 legends right in the ring. And you seem like it's just going to be ridden off in the sunset. Everything's fine. And then, boom. Undertaker and Kane start to attack Shawn Michaels and Triple H. They give him the tombstone. It just ends into a brawl, right?
Yeah.
But it's scripted that way. You want that to happen. So Triple H wins the match, gets revenge, but then Undertaker and Kane beat the shit out of both of them. And then he leaves you in suspense, saying, "I thought this was going to end all lovey-dovey." Okay, he got the revenge and blah blah blah. In UFC, it's not scripted that way. No. These guys are grown-ass men who make millions of dollars, who are badasses, who don't give an F who's near them. Right? That's kind of what it's about in UFC. They're fighters, man. They're prized fighters.
Absolutely.
That's what they are. This isn't WWE.
As soon as he jumped out of the ring and started running, what are the odds that he might have accidentally elbowed one of Dana White's investors? Maybe a poor little kid that was, somebody's getting sued.
Yeah.
And that's what Dana White's afraid of.
Yeah, and I don't blame him. I mean, Dana White and Vince McMahon, 2 totally different elements to being in the fighting. Entertainment. See, WWE specifies it's entertainment. UFC is MMA. It's fighting, man, and it's badass. And it's good. I know they called it the fight of the year, right? The fight of the year was yesterday's. That's how they promoted it.
No. Fight of the year was the fight before that one.
Yeah, I heard, and I didn't see it, but I heard on Twitter.
Pettis and Ferguson.
Yeah, and I saw the video of his bloody face, right?
Yeah.
Was that Ferguson won by knockout, correct? I think.
No, he...
Did he win by TKO?
It was technical because the other guy, broke his hand. Mm-hmm. But he was shaking everybody's hand. With
but the picture of him on top of him, his bloody face was awesome. I saw that on Twitter as well. It says, we sent some new listeners today. Oh, my boy John Fogliano from The Fanatic is tuned in. John, how's it going, bro? I know it's been a long time since I talked to John. Zach Weldon, hello, Zach, has a Boston Red Sox symbol on his profile picture, which the Yankees yesterday, right? It's tying up the series at 1-1. We will try to mix in some MLB playoffs discussion as the show goes as well, because every series other than the Red Sox Yankees is 2-0. So you got the 2-0 Dodgers, 2-0 Brewers, and the 2-0 Astros after beating the Indians yesterday. The Yankees tied up 1-1. I think obviously that series, I don't want to say obviously, but we all hope it goes game 5, right? We want it to be 2-2, Boston, New York, in Boston for a chance to play Houston. I think that's a great way for us to feel about the AL and playoffs. And look at the NL, I'm a Dodgers guy, man. That's my pick for the year. If I was picking a World Series winner when this thing started, the Dodgers at plus or 6-1 or 5.5-1, whatever it was about a couple of days ago, I would have taken the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers are the best team left in this field. I know Boston Red Sox fans are probably going to hate me for that, and the Yankees fans, but the Dodgers right now are hot. They've got the pitching and they've got the offense, so watch out for the LA Dodgers. So we'll get into some baseball talk as well. It is 11 o'clock. It is across the board sports talk show. You can find me on YouTube and Facebook and the Mixer app and Twitter. We're covered all across the board right there. Twitter, Mixler app, mixlr.com/Joe-Unis, or on Facebook, where most of you people are watching me right now, and the YouTube link that is now on Twitter and Facebook. So you can't get away from me. You're going to see my face somewhere or my voice talking sports. In this hour, we will discuss the Eagles game against the Minnesota Vikings. Look, guys, I'll be completely frank with you. I know I listen to a lot of local radio, and as John comments, you're killing it as always. I really appreciate that, John. I listen to The Fanatic. I listen to WIP. I stay in tune with the Philadelphia landscape, and it seems like there's a little bit of unease about this game today for the Minnesota Vikings and the Philadelphia Eagles. Look, can the Eagles start 2-3? Yes, because they haven't played good football yet through the first 4 games. Now, is it a Super Bowl hangover? I don't believe in that bullshit. I think a Super Bowl hangover only happens to teams that aren't coached well, that aren't hungry. And this is not the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles have a good coach and they have a hungry quarterback. And that's all I need to hear when I talk about a team that's trying to essentially repeat a Super Bowl championship, which is hard to do. It hasn't happened many times in the NFL history. It's hard to sit there and say, well, the Eagles, they're not motivated. I don't see that. I think they're injured. I think they're banged up a little bit. I think it's a little bit of a rust. They got to get it going. And today, you're getting a team that is hungry just as bad as the Philadelphia Eagles are. This game is going to be one hell of a football game. At 4:25, it's the game of the week, of course, for today. That's why we're talking about it. But we always give the Eagles a good 15, 20 minutes of a portion of the show because most people who tune in locally and in Philadelphia that listen to me at The Fanatic know that we will talk Eagles. And look, what do the Eagles have to do better against the Minnesota Vikings? The Vikings defense has been trash, absolute trash, the last couple of weeks. And if you talk about the Vikings giving up 38 points to the Rams, yes, the Rams offense is one of the top in the NFL. Look at the Bills the week before that, 27 points from Josh Allen against the Minnesota Vikings. The Bills come back last week, they score nothing against the Green Bay Packers. So it just the season the way it's been. You want to get off that schneid. So predictions for the Eagles teams. The Eagles game, excuse me. Do you think this is a 3-2 team after today or a 2-3 team after today? I think that's the big spin. I mean, the difference of going 3-2 and 2-3 is pretty large. It's a pretty drastic difference. I know it's one game, but 2-3 and 3-2, it puts you behind the 8 ball. 3-2 is get you back on track. That's how I teased it on Facebook. That's how I promoted it. Do the Eagles get back on track? Yes or no? Simple question. I'm going to say not available for me today. I'm not going to answer this question because the Vikings... the Vikings are a hungry team, just as hungry as the Eagles. So I wouldn't take this pick. I wouldn't select it. What I do think could happen is Carson Wentz can finally, get over confidence back, right? Can get back and look. I think he looked great overall the first 2 weeks coming off that injury. I think it's hard to argue that Carson Wentz has looked the way he's looked. I think he's done his job. It's more or less what this team could do with the weapons, get healthier. This could be a game where their offense could finally break out and put up over 20, 30 points because we've seen the Vikings defense absolutely get torched by Josh Allen and then, of course, Jared Goff last week in LA. So you Eagles fans out there, I see a lot of people tuned in right now. Thoughts on the game, predictions on the game. Is this a W or a loss? And for the landscape of the year, let's say they do take a loss. What are you thinking then? What are you thinking about this Eagles team after today? If they can't get the success going through the air, if they can't get the ground game fully established, if their defense looks like the fourth quarter the way they did against the Titans last week, where does it put your mindset as the Eagles? And I know I listen to the radio stations, and Joe, maybe you can chime in on this as well, but when a team wins a championship, right, and the Giants did it a few years, and you're a big Giants fan, and of course the Giants knocked off the Patriots, which was like an unbelievable feat, right? You beat an undefeated team, then you come back and do it again a few years later. If you win a Super Bowl, you're a fan, and then the following year it's a down year. I mean, are you? And I heard this discussion on WIP and the Fanatic, and people are saying, well, it kind of gives you a pass, right? It's like, well, you won me a Super Bowl, so if the next year you come and you're 7-9, how can I really be that upset? And I think that's the most complete, utter bullshit that I've ever heard. And there are some people who think that. Like when the Giants won the Super Bowl the following year, if they had a bad year, and I think they did, the second time they won a championship, they just fell off. Are you upset? Or are you like, they already won me a Super Bowl? I mean, I can't win it every year. There's people who say that, though. There's people.
Pissed.
You're pissed, right?
Then those people are not fans.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But the Philadelphia fans are getting ripped because that's their mentality. Like the Philadelphia fans are like, well, this guy better get his act together. Like the sky is falling. And I'm listening to the radio and it's like, people say, well, yeah, it's not easy coming back 2 years in a row and run. They're not going to run the gamut. They started slow last year and they kind of bursted onto the scene. But I mean,
you don't expect them to come out and blowing everybody out like, boom, we're back.
Yeah, 4-0 and whatever.
I mean, if that's your team, that'd be sweet and you'd be super happy. Be like, yep, repeat. But that's not the case. But you do expect your team to perform and be top contenders.
Yeah, especially when you win a Super Bowl, you have pretty much the same team.
You should be in the top 10, top 5.
I agree. And I think that's understandable. Then there's some people saying, well, cut him it's Philadelphia fans are getting ripped because of how much
tuck your skirt and
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm with the Philly fans because you listen to some of the national pundits, saying, well, they're already ripping Doug Peterson, they're ripping Carson Wentz, Well, because this is a week-to-week league. I mean, you're not okay. Yeah, you're winning the Super Bowl. Then you hear some of the players saying the Super Bowl is behind us. We're now on. We got to get this thing going. Just don't talk about it anymore. This is a new season.
You know what? Those are the same fans that also have a hoodie for 5 different teams. So depending who wins this week, that's their team.
We know some people like that. Yeah, we know.
You know, one week they're Buffalo, the next week they're Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Fucker, stay true.
Exactly. Amanda, Bill, Joey, Danny, Talal, all you guys tuning in right now. I really appreciate it on Facebook Live. This is Across the Board Sports Talk Show. We are discussing an NFL Sunday. Also, recapping the UFC fight. If you want to chime in and discuss what you saw yesterday in the UFC fight, you could do that on Facebook. But I did, turn the page.
Did you see the ladies fight?
I did not. I only watched because I was too.
God.
You know me, Joe. I was watching college football I went undefeated yesterday on the site, man. I completely crushed it yesterday, complete sweep. I was knee deep from 12 to about 1:30 in the morning watching college football. And then for that little gap, I switched to watch McGregor and Khabib yesterday because I knew this was going to be such a big fight and everyone wanted to talk about it. Yeah. But no, the women's fight, how bad was it? Was it badass?
I tell you what, the ladies are stepping up their game. Mm-hmm. These two that were in there are dangerous.
Yeah. Dangerous. Well, it seems like women, and I love it, man. I mean, the women's wrestling in WWE is taking on a whole different
They'll
feel.
kick every diva's ass.
Well, yeah,
I hate to say
Ronda Rousey? I know she was a
They
UFC.
would probably whoop her ass too.
Yeah, because she went out on a low note too when she left the UFC back a year ago now.
She let me down.
Yeah, I know. But no, the women's wrestling and women's UFC, that's good to see it, man. It really is good to see. I know the WNBA has struggled to get lift off in the basketball leagues, but they still get some people in the seats. People still tune in, but yeah, no, it's UFC it's big, man. It's bigger than I thought. And I was going on Twitter yesterday. I'm seeing everybody. It took over social media yesterday. It was the #1 trending thing worldwide yesterday on Twitter. Even with all the college football going on, and of course NFL Sunday. So if you want to talk about the UFC fight, Joe saw it. I saw it. It's open for the forum for the next 45 minutes. But the big story today is the NFL. NFL Sunday. We will discuss the top 5 NFL games coming up after the pick segment, which I'm leading right into because I could not wait today to talk 11:15 and the pick segment. Of course, everybody tuned in right now, chime in. Comments on anything. It doesn't have to be what I'm talking about, right, Joe? Maybe we just throw out something you want to discuss. That's why it's the name. People say, how did you come up with the name? I came up with Across the Board Sports Talk Show because this is across the fucking board. You can talk about anything you want, and I'm not going to turn you away. And why did I do it? Because when I was with the radio station down there, it was always just stick to the main topic. We're going to talk Eagles, and you have to do it. This isn't what the show is about. I couldn't be on the radio station right down in Philly talking UFC. I would get in trouble. Honestly, I would get yelled at for talking things that aren't Philadelphia Eagles. So this is what makes this show different. Give me your thoughts. Give me your comments on anything on your mind. If you want to talk Cowboys, Texans today, Giants got a big one coming up today against Carolina. We can get into that as well. The Eagles-Vikings game, of course, is on the table. Pittsburgh and Atlanta. I mean, good God. Can Pittsburgh really start 1-3-1? With all that talent on the offensive side of the ball, you're going to start 1-3-1? Unbelievable. There's some things that should just... I think... The Steelers starting 1-3-1 and the Eagles starting 2-3, which could happen by the end of today. I'm more shocked about the Steelers going 1-3-1 than the Eagles possibly going 2-3. And even though the Eagles won the Super Bowl, 2-3, we talk about the hangover for winning a Super Bowl. It happens, guys. It could happen. So I would be more stunned with Pittsburgh because I was high on the Steelers coming into the year, and now they've been underperforming. So you Steelers fans out there, of course, chime in. Give me your thoughts. And Eagles fans. I see a bunch of Eagles fans. I know Joey, Helen now just tuned in. All you guys. Laura earlier. Tim Clark. George is in here too. So I see a lot of people tuned in on Facebook and I'm sure on YouTube that are Eagles fans. Now, 11:15. Every Saturday and Sunday at 11:15, we will do a GodfatherLocks.com segment. What is GodfatherLocks.com? It is a site that I've been a part of, own essentially for the last 7 years. And what we do is basically break down these games in a handicapping perspective. We look at the lines. Look, Parks Casino and Sugar House Casino in Philadelphia just got approved for the sports betting. So in about a month, you can drive down the turnpike or wherever you guys are, and I know I have some Philadelphia people listening, but just go right down to Parks Casino and right off of Ben Salem and put in a wager. I heard a couple of friends of mine went up to Monmouth Park up in Oceanport, New Jersey, over by Somerville. Joe, I don't know if you know, like going to New York.
Oh, yeah.
You're a big New York guy, so right there in Monmouth Park racetrack up in Oceanport, New Jersey.
Yeah, it's like
hour and some Yeah,
depending on your foot,
yeah.
40 minutes.
Yeah. People went out there this week and they got themselves a couple of tickets in for the games, and they bet the games yesterday. So if you want to go ahead and do that, you can do so. But this segment will give picks for you guys and what to kind of wager on, right? We'll give you 2 free picks every Saturday and Sunday, which I think on the show, I'm like 14-3 on the year giving out free picks, Joe. Or 14-4, excuse me, giving out free picks since we started the show back up again in early September. So we will do that here in a second. We'll talk about the games. I have 2 of my favorite picks today, which I think there's one. And Cowboys fans, if you're listening, you're not going to like this. I will absolutely take Houston tonight at 8:20 against the Dallas Cowboys. I would take the Houston Texans minus the 3 points. And this is why. The Texans, I know a sluggish start. Dallas, you got to win last week against Detroit, but I'm seeing a trend with the Cowboys here, okay? 2-0 at home, 0-2 on the road, right? The 2 games on the road against Carolina and Seattle, your offense looked like complete shit, okay? You can't move the ball. You can't pass the ball. You got no weapons on the offense and the defensive side of the ball. Look dreck. The Seahawks looked good against them, and so did Carolina, especially in the ground game. I think Houston today is the pick of the day. I really do. I think Houston got that win last week. Their offense snapped out of it. They dropped 34 points against the Colts. Sometimes it takes a bad defense that you play against to really make you feel better about yourself, right? I mean, if you got a struggling quarterback or a struggling offense, you play a team like Indianapolis, you score 34 points, you basically then have a revival to say, my offense is back. I think this Houston Texans team could be good enough to get back on track. Take the Texans today. I got a comment coming in from Helen saying 2 weeks in a row. I appreciate it, Helen. Helen's a Cowboys fan. Speaking of a Cowboys fan, she's a Cowboys fan. Her husband is an Eagles fan. So talk about that household, right? You know, I know you're a Giants fan and Laura's an Eagles fan. That's been a battle that's been brewing for years. The war. But Eagles, Cowboys, and they're the same roof? Wow, that's tough. Danny says Eagles are a lock. I'll give the viewers a free pick. So Danny, all of a sudden jumping in a few. Look, Danny, I don't know if you missed it. I'm not taking that Eagles game with a 2-inch pole, bro. I'm not going anywhere near that game today. You may be confident. I know you're an Eagles fan, but I will not take that pick. Either side. I have no opinion on that. So the Houston Texans are your first free pick. The second free pick is the Kansas City Chiefs, okay? This team is, and I wasn't a believer in Patrick Mahomes, okay? I wasn't a believer a couple weeks ago. Everyone's talking about the kid as an MVP candidate. He's blowing out record numbers. The kid's on fire right now for the Chiefs. You play a Jacksonville Jaguars team. You're a 3-point favorite at home. This is going to be a great game. Talk about a solid 1 o'clock game. Jacksonville and Kansas City, one of the best defenses against one of the best offenses at 1 o'clock today. Hopefully the local channels have it. I know I'm okay. I've got all the games, but hopefully you guys can tune in and watch it, especially with the Eagles and Cowboys not playing at 1 o'clock. So you Eagles Cowboys fans could tune in and possibly see what the hell Patrick Mahomes is all about and what the hell the Jaguars are about. Look, the Chiefs next week, they got to travel to New England and they got to play a team in the Patriots that, yes, we've seen win a few in a row now. They're starting to get hot. You know, this is what the Patriots do. They'll run off 6 or 7 straight wins. I always mention revenge. Revenge is a big part of sports and a part of gambling. The revenge factor for what happened last year when the Chiefs opened up the season in New England on that Thursday night game and beat the New England Patriots. It shocked the world, right? Not many people thought that would happen. You know the Patriots are hungry for the game. It's a Sunday night game next Sunday. The Patriots are probably going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, handing them their first loss next Sunday night. So what do? You take the Chiefs this week. You lay the 3 points. They're at home. It's a great defensive team in Jacksonville. We'll see Patrick Mahomes basically continue this streak going. I'll take Kansas City. So of the picks today, Houston -3, Kansas City -3, two home favorites. That's what I'll take today as your GodfatherLocks.com free picks of the day. How about that? Giants Carolina, no pick on it. Ooh. No pick on it. There's a couple games. Look, today I'm very, very specific right now in college and NFL. What games really stand out to me? I think the Giants are hungry, and I think the Panthers off that bye. You just don't know what you're going to get from both teams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On the road in Carolina.
I'm a Giants fan, so obviously I want my Giants to win. But then just like the Khabib and McGregor fight, now we got to look at skills, who's playing, who's at the top of the game, who's hurt, who's not.
Well, they're writing off Eli Manning now. That's the big story in New York this week. I know that, 98.7 The Fan were talking about it, and I was tuning in, and I heard him say, look, Eli Manning, can somebody help the guy out? Right? Can somebody give him some love? And it's like, has the time ran out on Eli Manning? We discussed that a couple of weeks ago before the season started, that opening Sunday. And we talked about the Giants, and I said, who knows? Has the time run out on the Giants, situation with their quarterback? Should they have moved on from Eli Manning sooner than they did? with Saquon Barkley, with ODB, with Sterling Shepard, with Evan Ingram, the defense has looked pretty good, decently enough to keep them in games. It's a situation with the Giants now. I don't know. Eli Manning kind of ran its course a little bit with his career. It's been a great career, but now there's a lot of quarterbacks like that in the NFL, man. You just don't know when to hang it up or when to move on from them or how many chances you're going to give to try to get back and win a Super Bowl. I know there's only one Super Bowl champion a year, but he's got 2 Super Bowl rings. So to rip the guy completely, no, I disagree with it. He's put together a resume. It's just a matter of, can the Giants win with a quarterback that's mediocre in his career, if not a little bit less than mediocre? That's the debate with the New York Giants.
I say bring Peyton Manning back.
Yeah, Peyton. Yeah, I'm surprised Peyton hasn't landed in a booth yet. Right? You talk about Troy Aikman who did it. Tony Romo did it. I know Steve Young did it for a portion. Now he's on, ESPN doing, some pre and post game stuff. But he would fit perfectly. I know he wants to be a coach eventually. I'm surprised we haven't heard from Peyton in anything yet for the last.
He's
2 years.
he's probably doing. He's up to something.
He has to be. Yeah, of course. I would think so.
Now, one thing I have to bring up.
Yeah.
Whether you're a Giants fan or not, there is another Manning, and his name is Cooper Manning.
Cooper, he's a scientist. He's like the genius of the family.
This guy is funny.
Yeah,
Look
he's
him
the
up
man.
on YouTube. He's hilarious. But it's funny because you stare at him, and you see Eli and Manning like cross mix.
Peyton and Eli, yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, he's like some sort of genius, is what they were saying. But how does it feel to be Cooper Manning when your brothers are NFL Hall of Famers and you're the other guy? And your dad's Archie Manning, who's a legend. And you're just like, yeah, I'm just a normal dude.
Dude, he just kicks it and he makes fun of everybody. I think he just enjoys it because he knows he's in the limelight.
Yeah.
Basically, he gets the party off of everybody else.
Of course, because his last name is Manning. All right, guys, it is 11:25. It is we give out our 2 free picks of the day. Of course, the Texans and the Chiefs are your free picks. So if you just tuned in, I see Jeff tuning in. My man Redwan's tuning in from Red Jewelers. Of course, premier sponsor of the show. Mention them at the top. Every show, they are a premier sponsor. 2 locations, 5248 and 704, 5248 Hamilton Boulevard in Allentown, 704 West Emmaus Ave in Allentown. My man Red, of course, if you're looking to buy, sell, customize jewelry, check out Red, mention the show. Stop on in there. Look, it's the holiday season. Dude, can you believe it's October 7th today? I mean, I can't. Halloween's in 3 weeks, right? I mean, Halloween's 3 weeks. Thanksgiving's a month and a half away. Christmas is 2 months away. Unbelievable. 2 months and change away. So if you're looking to buy yourself something nice, go on to Red Jewelers, jewelerslehigh-valley.com, and check out Red's Jewelers in 2 locations in Allentown. And of course, reach out to me if you want any insight on Red. But stop on by and mention the show. He'll hook you up. I mean, he'll help out anybody over there. But
If you mention the show, he'll give you a free lollipop.
yeah, probably. We'll take it. I know Ace will take it. My son will definitely take it. But the law offices of Albert Yakub, also a premier sponsor at 610-437-2185. That's leading me into the 11:30 fantasy football segment coming up on Across the Board. We'll talk about some of the hot fantasy football stardom incentives. Patrick Mahomes is a big one, of course, for the Kansas City Chiefs. I know some people, he was a free agent in some people's leagues, and now people are picking him up like crazy, starting him for the fantasy teams, and we'll see how he fares against the Jags. But Albert is at Yakub Law. That's YACOUBLAW.com. Check out Albert if you've got any problems with DUIs, drug offenses, or violent offenses. And what the hell is going on in Allentown these days in the community with car bombs and people getting shot? God bless everybody out there. I'll tell you what, man. I growing up in Allentown, and I always said this, Joe, and I think people called me crazy. I lived in Allentown for 17, 18 years of my life. Then I went to Temple for 4 years. I felt better and safer at Temple University than I did in my own town in Allentown, PA. And that's crazy. People would say, you're going to Philly, you're going to get shot, bro. Yeah, no. All my Philly people, I love you to death, all right? I had the greatest 4 years of my life were at Temple. And I think, a lot of people think that Philadelphia has that stereotype. This town needs to get back and rolling. And I see Kevin on here as well. Kevin's a local police officer. Shout out to what they do to try to maintain this community, right? And I think it's a shame what's happening. It happens everywhere, right? It happens in all big cities, but what's happening lately is pretty absurd, and I'm sorry to hear about some of the stuff that's going on and anybody that's been affected. The car bomb itself was just ridiculous story that's taken over the local news. So definitely keep safe out there. The Cut above the rest, 1058 3rd Street, Whitehall, PA. Speaking of Thanksgiving, we'll be there. Thanksgiving morning. That football game last year was such a great show. We'll be there live. We'll have a local football game down there at 1058 The Cut, 1058 3rd Street The Cut, 610-443-0511 for Matt, Chris, Tim, and Jake. Walk in there. They won't turn you away. They will not turn you away. You don't need an appointment. Just stop on by. If you want an appointment, call them up and get yourself an appointment. And of course, your Lehigh Valley realtor, Eli Boutros, my man Eli. We're going to have a show coming up hopefully in the next month talking about the market, buying and selling. There's like 17 homes in my neighborhood that have gone on sale right now. So people are selling and people have money. So we'll talk about what you can do as far as buying and selling a home. What's your best route to go there? 484-547-8228. So those are a few.
That one's actually going to be a good show because, you know, for someone who's interested in buying a home,
yeah,
you know, he's going to give out some good tips and stuff like that. So it's going to be more of an educational show. So when people want that American dream and buying a home, what do I do? How do I fix it?
Yeah.
So I would definitely tune in.
Yeah,
Remember, now you have to subscribe.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to tease you on that. So we have a YouTube page right now, which I put up on Facebook. Look, people complain, say, oh, dude, I don't have freaking Facebook. Okay, I get that. So we're trying to make this work. Joe right here from jdmphotography.net, of course, with the lights, the background, all the cameras and the shoots and everything like that. If you're looking to have a birthday party, baptism, or any event, reach out to Joe. He'll help you out, especially coming up in the next year, right? You're planning your weddings, you're planning things already. It's October. People are thinking about the spring and the summer. So look out for Joe. Joe started the YouTube page. If you don't want to watch me on Facebook, if you just want to watch me on YouTube, there is a comment section I'm going to read as the show continues to develop over the next couple of months, and we keep doing this. I like to read Facebook comments. I can try to bring up both. I just need another tool to do it. We will get there at that point, but YouTube allows you guys who don't have Facebook to watch me live on YouTube and not just listen to the audio. So we put up the link and it's live right now, Joe, right?
Yes,
We're on both platforms. Yeah. So you can definitely do that. And it adds an element to the show.
Also, if you subscribe, you know, you'll get a notification when the show's about to start. And
yeah.
If you missed the show, it's easier to find us on YouTube than Facebook.
It is Facebook, yeah.
And then, you know, if you're looking for those free picks, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. 11:15. I gotta look at I used to do this down at the station. I used to see when the show peaked and when it dipped. I'm pretty sure 11:15. Look, I got more listeners right now than I had.
We're peaking.
An hour ago. We're starting to peak, but it seems like 11:15, 11:30 is when people wake the hell up or they stop eating breakfast or whatever the hell they're doing. I usually watch soccer in the morning. I was up at 6:30 again this morning. Went to bed at 2, woke up at 6:30. To continue the sports phase that is right now. And this is the best 2 months, bro. Like, honestly, if anybody's out there watching this show, I know there's a lot of women that listen to the show because it's Facebook and you just click and, I don't know, maybe they like the hair or whatever the case is, but they tune in and it's like, if you're a sports fan right now, dude, you got to be just geeking. You had a big UFC fight yesterday. You've got the baseball playoffs in the midst of the first round, the divisional round. You've got the NFL. You've got college football. Basketball starts next Tuesday night. I mean, dude, this is the only month and the hockey if you're an NHL fan. And there's soccer going on. Good God. And there's tennis and there's golf. Like, there's everything going on at once. So this is an ability to watch the YouTube channel, not just Facebook. Go to my page. You can go to YouTube and subscribe. Yes, please subscribe. If there's kids out there opening up Kinder eggs and people are subscribing, I think this show's a little better than opening up a Kinder egg or dressing up like Spider-Man, chasing around someone who's dressed up like the Hawk in a backyard somewhere. This show hopefully can be taken to the next level. That's what we're trying to do here. So YouTube and on Facebook. Brandon, Chris, Ashley, Omar. My man Omar's tuned in. Gus from the Elias Market, of course, leading me right into this segment. This segment is brought to you by the law offices of Albert Cooper, who I just mentioned, the Elias Market and Elias Bake Shop. I have coined this bread, cakes, desserts, whatever you need. Reach out to Elias Market and Bake Shop. And of course, you can go to my Facebook page to click on their link to all my advertisers, and we'll put it up after the show. But of course, the Elias Market, stop on by there, talk to Gus, talk to Michael, talk to Rima, whoever you see, tell them that you heard about this on the Across the Board Sports Talk Show, and they will definitely love and appreciate that you do that, because it's the best place in the area to get your freshest produce as far as a farmer's market. I know farmers markets and butchers have phased out a little bit. I always used to drive to Quakertown, Lansdale, and see like selling corn here, peaches here, cucumbers, tomatoes, and I used to pull over just because it's old school, man. It's old, and I know you were on that too, going to like little farms and flea markets.
And I still am. Actually, we bought a pack of chicken the other day from the supermarket we usually go to. We put it in the refrigerator as every normal human being does. Go about our business the next day. We go to pull out the meat, start the season. It's bad.
What store? I don't want to get the store.
No, I can't say the store. But it's just one of our local stores, big name stores. Really?
Oof.
That's why I love the small meat market.
Because you know what you're getting.
It's fresh. They're cutting it right there. It's packaged. You can't trust it. You always hear the horror stories how
yeah.
they make it look fresh by
Oh
different.
yeah, oh yeah. Well, I once had a bad experience too, where and Danny's got a comment about Eli Manning. We're gonna talk about that in a second. But I had an experience with a pack of meat that I got from a local store as well a while back. But they had a seal that was like that darker saran wrap.
Yeah.
And the meat looked red to me, and it looked like it was fresh, and it said packed on, whatever the date was that day. I always look at the packed on. I get home that day, though. I rip open the paper, and it's black on the part where the foam is covering. You can't see the piece of meat. It's all black, and it's been sitting there probably for like 3 days. Yeah. I threw it out.
Well,
it
what they do is they take fresh blood, they kind of dip
tap it, yeah.
You know, so it looks
Save
purty,
it.
and then they
Yeah.
repackage it.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Not good. So that's why we say go to Elias Market,
Dirty
who's
mother.
who's a fresh butcher right down there in Tillman Street in Allentown. The freshest produce. Check him out. Also, this
Your
segment.
meat packed fresh.
Yeah, that's a drop. Where we used to do a little sound drop right there. The meat pack fresh. Yeah, it is. I get my roast from there. My meat's there as well. But if you want to check out the Elias Market or Bake Shop, you can do so on Tillman Street and Allentown, and of course Union Boulevard in Allentown. And check them out on Facebook, of course, for any sort of advertisements and specials they've got going on. No, they've got a lot of things that are like in season, out of season. You can check them out at the Elias Market. And also, this segment is brought to you by the Essence Hookah Lounge, which we're trying to get that show going. I know the owner there. Busy time right now. I know once the weather has been beautiful for the weekend. So you want to go on down there and have a hookah and check out I think the fight they had. I'm sure he was airing the fight there yesterday. So if you want to go on and have a nice hangout, I know it's open today, and they're opening 8. So check out the Essence Hookah Lounge in Bethlehem in 3rd Street. All right, the fantasy football segment. Speaking of fantasy football, Danny says Eli Manning fell off 36 consecutive games without 30-plus points. Wow. Talk about a statistic. This is why Danny could be the name in the hat, which we are going to select this week. So put your name in the hat, right? We want to get that guest superstar coming up. We also have something to get to with a special guest that we're going to have in the next couple of weeks. I want to mention something. I know I talked about the community a lot earlier in the Allentown community because on Facebook, I get a lot of people tuning in. There is something going on of such a great cause that one of our local members of the community is doing. We're going to talk about that in a couple of minutes. And hopefully, we are going to get the person involved in this situation with me here in the next couple of weeks to promote this. So we're going to talk about that as the show wraps up. So stay tuned for that. But, the fantasy football aspect of Eli Manning, right? I don't think anybody out there is starting Eli Manning in their fantasy football leagues. That's not what. See, fantasy football is all about the Patrick Mahomes, right? The guy who comes on the scene, throws 300 some odd yards, throws lefty against the Broncos on Monday and completes a big pass. That game against the Broncos, I thought the Broncos were going to win that game on Monday night. The Chiefs are taking over the world, it seems like, right now. So they're undefeated. He looks great. Eli's not your typical starting quarterback. If there's anybody on here that would start Eli Manning in fantasy, I don't think that's what Joe doesn't care about fantasy. He's not looking at numbers. He wants to win. But with Eli, it's simple as that. So Eli Manning going 36 consecutive games without 30-plus points, that's astounding. That's absurd to think of his stature to do that. But this isn't, like I said, Eli is not your typical fantasy football type quarterback. You're looking at guys today, Matt Ryan against Pittsburgh secondary that's looked bleak. You're looking at, I think, Deshaun Watson today, even though Dallas's defense has looked pretty solid. I love the Texans today. It was one of your free picks. That's my pick of the day, by the way. As strong as the Patriots were last Sunday when I gave you out against the Dolphins. Yesterday, I had the Florida Gators beating LSU. Biggest pick on the site. Undefeated on the website yesterday. The Texans. I'm going to keep saying it. Hopefully you guys take my advice. Chris says Eli sucks. He shouldn't have even been drafted. I don't want to say that, Chris. Obviously, you're taking it too far as an Eagles fan, ripping them. Look, he won 2 Super Bowls for the team, okay? He won 2 Super Bowls. He's just he's been in the news because everybody looks at that roster, and we talked about this about 20 minutes ago, that this team has too many weapons to be in the position they're in. I think we all can agree on that. They're too talented to not put up 20, 30 points a game with their offense. That's why. I mean, it's not what he's done in his career.
You know who Eli is? Eli's like the hot girlfriend that you used to date back in the day in high school and college. She loved you, but one stupid argument, she'd break your damn heart over the weekend.
Yeah, and then you're pissed.
Monday, you're back together. And then
it's a good analogy.
A month later, you're on another break.
Yeah.
And
because he's throwing too many interceptions. Jesus. That's why. Yeah, I know. It's a love-hate relationship with him. Cam Newton today is a stud. That's from Danny Dayub. Of course, Danny knows that they're playing the Giants. So it looks like the Giants are just getting torched here on the Facebook app. Here on the chat room. Chris Jarrett says, I mean in fantasy. Oh, Chris. Sorry, Chris. I apologize. My man Chris Jarrett commenting. I thought you meant drafted as in general. No, he means in fantasy football. I agree. There's some people, unless you're in like a 12-man league where there's like You need 2 quarterbacks on your roster, and he's in a top 24.
That's tough because you if you're playing fantasy and you got him, you sit him because he's doing garbage.
Yeah.
And as soon as you make the decision to sit him, that's the game.
He'll light it up. Yeah.
That he just.
Yeah.
No.
30. I mean, that's an interesting stat from Danny. He's 36 games without 30 plus points. Wow, that's a next level statistic, as we must say. I'm surprised by seeing that. But a great start today, I think, in fantasy football is the running back for Carolina. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, I think is a solid player. I think he's in today. He's healthy. I think that's a good start. I think the Panthers, all in all, should be able to have some success against the Giants today. We'll see. The Giants are a 6.5 point underdog against Carolina. So the top 5 games of the day, to me, and Danny says I know random shit. Yeah, random is good though. That's a random statistic. The top 5 games of the day is simple. The best game of the card is Jaguars Chiefs. I talked about that at length. I think you see a matchup with the defense against an offense. To me, is top versus top is always good to see. My man Elias Ease is in. Hello Ease. Of course, big shout out to Ease and his family, and shout out to Ease always supporting the show. One of the greatest guys you'll meet. Elias McCool says bench the Viking defense versus the Eagles. Yes. More yes. I would not start the Vikings defense, Eli. And for me too, Elias is like I have them on my team. Ease, it's hard for me. Like I took them, and for me it was like going off of what we saw last year and all that talent that they have on the defensive side of the ball. They cannot cover in the secondary, man. So I would definitely bench the Vikings defense. Who's your other option? And if you could tell me that, Ease, and see what's your other option instead of the Vikings defense than the Eagles, because I think unless it's like the who's going to get crushed today. I gotta look at the lines and the updated big spreads of the day. But unless you're like the Raiders defense against the Chargers, we saw the Raiders defense; they're pretty dreck. But I don't know who else you got. I mean, if you have a certain debate of who to start and who to sit, I've got them on my team with the Saints. And I'm starting the Saints tomorrow against the Redskins because I think Monday Night Football, the Saints defense should amend what they look like in their first home game against the Bucs. I know they bounced back a little bit against the Browns. Their defense played better, and the Saints defense on Monday Night Football, I think it's a good start. So I'm going with New Orleans on my squad. Who do you got other than Minnesota? Danny says Carson throws 300 plus yards today. Chargers are a good waiver pickup. Yeah, San Diego, LA. Sorry, I always do that. LA Chargers is a good pickup. The defensive, I don't know about that though, because the Raiders
sound right.
The LA Chargers, yeah. The Raiders last week put up 30 some odd points against the Browns, and it was like they had no business winning that game. I know it went into overtime, but I don't know. The Raiders could have some success with Carr and Lynch, and that offense looked pretty good last week for the most part. So I don't know if the Chargers is a good start, but if you have the Vikings, I wouldn't start them. That's your answer for the fantasy football question right there. As Ease is trying to figure out who to start for the defensive side of the ball. My situation still remains the same, guys. Le'Veon Bell has not shown up. Picked him first overall, and my team is hurting because of it. And we talked about Le'Veon to start the show a little bit. I know it's a hot topic in the NFL right now. Who's interested, who's not. Look, if you're an interested team out there, we can talk about it from start to finish, right? From the beginning of the day to the end of the day. If you can get Le'Veon Bell, get Le'Veon Bell, right? I mean, if unless you have a Saquon Barkley or a Todd Gurley or a Joe Mixon and you don't need him, you go out and get Le'Veon Bell if it means taking a draft pick and making it happen. So E says Cowboys, Jets, Bengals, 49ers, or Bills. I would say the Niners. The Niners are playing Josh Rosen, Cardinals quarterback. Again, I don't like the Bengals. No, I think the Dolphins are a good pick today, actually. Plus 6 points. It's not one of your free picks. I like the Dolphins. I wouldn't take the Bengals. The Bills, no, not against Tennessee. I would start the 49ers. I think the 49ers are a good start out there in the West Coast. So, and the Jets, look, that Denver, I think Denver's -1 on the road. The Jets defense has been okay, but I think the 49ers is your best pick. I think playing against a Cardinals team that struggles offensively, they only put up 17 points last week against Seattle, and Seattle's defense is not the Seattle defense that we remember. They're not a Super Bowl type defense. So I would go 49ers ease, and I would start it with confidence. I think that's a great pick up next for today at 425 if you're looking for a replacement for the Vikings. And I know it's hard to like fantasy football. This is why I hate it now, because I mean, it's been like this for years, but with the way the game has changed now, with the defense is such a tough position to pick because everybody's fucking scoring points, man. The flags, the roughing the passer. I mean, it's like 3rd and 18 roughing the passer. right? If second and 12, sack on the quarterback. Oh, that's 2 points. No, roughing the passer. Okay, third and 12, big pass to the outside, 30-yard bomb down the field. Oh, pass interference, illegal contact. All of a sudden, your defense is out there longer, and you know what that happens. And Joe, you know this. When teams commit penalties on third and longs, and their defense was just about to get off the field, and now it's a 1st and 10 at midfield, you're pissed. It changes everything. Changes the complexion of the game. Now your defense is like, we just had him in a 4th down punting situation. No, now it's 1st and 10 from midfield. 10 more yards, it's a field goal in the NFL.
Absolutely.
You can't. Your defense wants to get off the field. The rules in the NFL don't allow you to do that. And if you're a fantasy football player, how the hell do you analyze that? How the hell do you break that down on the defensive side of the ball? There's not many defenses that can do it. And because, and I'm wondering how long will this continue that it's catered to the offense? Well, as long as these rules are there, it's hard, and it's hard to overcome that because the NFL wants this to happen. That Colts-Patriots game the other day, 38-24, whatever it was, they want that game to be like that. They want this scoring. They don't want to see a defensive slugfest. They don't want to see what the Ravens and Steelers did for years when it was 10-7 or 9-6 or 13-10. They want to see 30s, high 20s, and that's why it's hard to pick fantasy football defenses. Now, as far as the offense is concerned, you can find yourself and some quarterbacks, some receivers, some running backs out there to make your hay and obviously get your teams on the right track. So fantasy football segment, of course, happens every Saturday and Sunday at 11:30. We will do usually about 10 minutes on fantasy. This has probably been the best fantasy segment we've had since the show started, Joe. When we debuted this segment, this is not something I typically have done in the past, talking fantasy football. I know I used to, when we work at the station, someone comes in and goes, "Oh, my team is 4-0, and I don't know who to start, Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers, right? Who do I start?" Well, I mean, no one really cares out there about your fantasy team, but they want to hear about who do you want to start and sit. But it's like, people always used to get into discussion. Oh, I got a big game coming up this Sunday. 2 4-0 teams. This team's going to get the edge on the bye week or whatever. That's what makes it unlistenable because I don't think that many people care about your fantasy team, but they do care about who to start and who to sit. And that's what we'll continue to do on the show every 11:30 on Saturday and Sunday. So you can give out your stardom sit-ems. And if everybody else wants to chime in, I see Danny. Danny answered the same thing I answered about the Niners. He's answering to Isa's question. So, of course, E says, thank you, no problem, bro. Chris says, we need the chain gang. He's speaking about the Miami U. How about Miami yesterday? I know we didn't get to recap much college football. This show's been jam-packed, and we're running out of time, so I definitely want to keep this thing rolling. But the Hurricanes down 27-7 late in that third quarter, and then they come back and beat Florida State 28-27. It's one of the best comebacks of the day. Oklahoma and Texas, good God. It was 45-24 Texas. Oklahoma rips off 21 straight points. They tie the game 45-45, and then Texas nips them at the end with a 40-yard field goal attempt, and Texas pulls a mild upset against Oklahoma. I mentioned this earlier on the GodfatherLocks.com segment. I had Florida beating LSU. It was a great game. To see that pick six was awesome, especially when you have Florida. I thought it was a great spot for Florida beating LSU yesterday. Such a great defensive game, turned into some offense. Florida's quarterback situation is questionable with Felipe Franks. I don't know how much Florida's going to really do, but they're 5-1 now. All of a sudden, Texas and Florida, two teams that were kind of fading a little bit over the years, have now come back onto the scene. So it's good to see both those teams getting their programs back on track. So that was yesterday's college football. Another game that stood out to me was, of course, Notre Dame and Virginia Tech. Notre Dame looks pretty damn good. And now that Oklahoma and LSU have taken losses, Notre Dame is right back up there in the top 5. And it's crazy, man. I mean, that kid Book has changed what Notre Dame is about. And I see a comment that was left over from the other day from Ted here on the Mixler app. He said Notre Dame is solid. That's a great way to put it. So if you're looking at the top 5, and of course, Penn State fans, they had a day off yesterday. No Penn State game yesterday, as they were still, and it's hard because when you lose a game like that to Ohio State, I think a lot of fans would say, let's get back out there right away, right? Get that bad taste out of your mouth. Oh, yeah. Now they got to wait till next week. So they have to play Michigan State, who's coming off of a loss to Northwestern yesterday, which was another upset. So we'll talk about the Penn State game next Saturday, of course, on our college football show. But it was a good day overall. I thought yesterday was a really good day as far as college football was concerned. We saw some really good games in the afternoon time slot. And then, of course, later on, Texas A&M and Kentucky. The overtime game was the one I was tuned into because I had Texas A&M, and then to see a touchdown at the end was pretty good. So that was your college football Saturday. For the most part, it was a pretty good day, pretty small card as far as that was concerned. All right, top 5 games of the NFL Sunday. Number 1 is your Jaguars Chiefs game. I'm actually going to pull up the Vegas Insider page to see the active lines as I have to close out Facebook. So if any comments come through, I'll get to you guys in a second. But the Jaguars and Chiefs, right? This is strength versus strength. And I think when you talk about sports and you talk about gambling and you talk about the competitiveness of football, all we want to see is a great matchup, right? We want to see best versus best. And I think we're getting that today with the Jaguars and the Chiefs. And I think it's hard for anybody to argue that because we are seeing two of the best teams in football right now, especially in the AFC, who are battling it out in Kansas City today. So I think that's your top game of the day. That's your number 1 game of the NFL today, as far as I'm concerned, at 1 o'clock. The second of your top 5 games has to be the Atlanta and Pittsburgh game. The reason why I say that is because you don't want to go. If the Falcons go 1-4, wow, right? If the Steelers go 1-3-1, wow. So that's got to be right. I mean, do you think that the Steelers would be 1-3-1 or the Falcons would be 1-4? That's two teams that were in the playoffs last year, competitors to win it, to go to a Super Bowl, and now they're going to start out 1-4 and 1-3-1. And then of course everyone's going to say, "Oh, the season's over," and then everyone snaps and try to call for the coach's head. Usually happens at this point of the year. The Eagles and the Vikings, big movement going on right now. The Eagles are now a 3.5-point favorite, no longer just a 3-point favorite against the Minnesota Vikings. So now all of a sudden the Eagles getting more respect there. And I, we talk about revenge on the show quite often. And I always talk about revenge, and I always say, how does a team respond? Remember what happened to the Vikings last year in Philadelphia. I know you guys remember this. The NFC Championship game, it got absolutely embarrassed. So I don't know how you go against the Vikings today, and I don't know how you go with the Vikings today. That's why it's a stay-away game for me. I'm not picking that game. But now you see a development where the Eagles are a 3.5-point favorite. So we may see a repeat. What the hell? They might blow them out again this year, for all we know. So that's going to be interesting to see. That's your third biggest game of the day. And again, this is just to my opinion. I don't know what you guys think. And of course, you're an Eagles fan. That's your biggest game of the day. But for me, that's the third biggest on the schedule. You can't go. So game 2 and game 3 are games where I don't want to see a team. You don't want to see a team go to 1-4, 1-3-1, 2-3 if you're the Eagles, 1-3-1 if you're the Steelers, 1-4 if you're the Falcons. You don't want to do that today if you're these teams. So desperate times call for desperate measures, right? So this is a time where these teams need to show the hell up. That's why these games are the top 3. Your fourth biggest game of the day, as I'm scouring, I'm trying to figure out if anything else has changed. I would honestly think it is the Dallas and Houston game tonight, because for Dallas, look, can you string together 2 wins in a row? Maybe. If you're the Texans, can you get 2 wins in a row? Maybe. And it's a battle for Texas, right? Cowboys, Texans tonight in Houston. It is Sunday Night Football, so it's always a big one. And then your fifth one is tomorrow. I'm interested to see what the Saints are all about right now, especially after how they started out the season. Then, of course, they came back last week getting a win in New York. The week before that, they got a W in Atlanta. All of a sudden, you're starting to see the Saints get a little hot right now, and they're getting where we all thought, at least what I thought, they would be like in the situation. So this year, and I picked them again to go pretty far. Actually supported them to be a Super Bowl team. So we're starting to see the Saints be the Saints. Interested to see what happens tomorrow night against the Washington Redskins. And if you're an NFC East fan, you're going to be tuned in and watch that to be honed in on what's happening with the Redskins and the Saints tomorrow. So those are your top 5 picks, top 5 games of the day. Your 2 free picks of the day: the Texans and the Chiefs. I said that at 11:15, of course, the GodfatherLocks.com segment. Joe mentioned if you're on YouTube, if you want to, and again, I think people do fast forward to that 11:15 spot, and they see, what the hell was Joe taking today? Let me see, because no, we've been on fire on the show. I think it's 14-4.
Yeah, I believe so.
14-4 or something like that on the show. And undefeated yesterday on the website. So, of course, if you want to check out GodfatherLocks.com, you can do so and get more picks. If those 2 games are not enough, you can check us out on the website. And, of course, I'll sit back and enjoy these games today and have some success on the website. So you can definitely check that out. But, yeah, on YouTube now, we put up the link. Going forward, we would be on YouTube. Subscribe to the page, please. if you're subscribing to little kids that can pull Kinder eggs and see what's in my egg, I'm sure you can subscribe to a sports radio show talking about the Eagles, the Giants, the Cowboys every week. We're doing fantasy football. We do picks. We talked about McGregor and Khabib earlier in the show, and of course we have a lot of big hot topics coming up in the next 2 months. I just mentioned the World Series going on, and to take a minute on the World Series in baseball. Look, I think it's great to have baseball mixed in, especially during the week when there's no football. It's great to watch baseball, and I know there are people out there to say too boring. I can't watch. You want to watch playoff baseball, okay? Because the intensity, the atmosphere, the towels waving, the do or die situation, right, where your team's down 0-2 and you're at home, like the Atlanta Braves today, the Colorado Rockies. I know there's a lot of football today. I get it, but tonight it's 8:00, right? 8:00, Dodgers Braves. Watch the Texans-Cowboys game on one TV, and then watch the Braves-Dodgers on your iPad. I do that all the time. You know, it's a great way to watch a playoff baseball. And Yankees-Red Sox. I mean, it's going to be, Joe, you're a big Yankees fan. You've been a Yankees fan your whole life. You can't get any better than the Yankees-Red Sox. You know what I mean? If you're a baseball fan and you like the Yankees, you know the Red Sox are like, that's your comparison to the Cowboys-Eagles or the Eagles-Giants.
Oh, absolutely.
You hate the Red Sox.
Absolutely.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
But
in that
that's
series.
another reason why you want to subscribe, because sometimes if you're feeling kind of hot and you're kind of feeling generous, you might throw up a free pick midweek.
Oh yeah. No, I definitely want to start
doing it. If you subscribe to YouTube,
Yeah.
you'll get notified. And
Well, you know, the one thing I wanted to do, and this is kind of a brainstorming thing that I like to bring to the table, because if you're listening to the show, you support the show, and I appreciate it. You know, I'm thinking of doing like a 20, 30-minute gambling show. We're doing Across the Board Sports Talk show every weekend, Saturday and Sunday, 10:30 to 12. But there are people out there now that are like Oceans Resort in Atlantic City is now opening a gambling studio. They have a studio where they're gonna do a show. Brent Musburger, who was one of the best broadcasters in football years ago, and still is, and legend in my opinion. He's Morris is the curse, right? Yeah, the Red Sox Yankees curse. But you talk about gambling and what it's done. It's taken now that it's becoming legal. People talking about it. It's more relevant. I mean, DraftKings, right, has it in DraftKings. You go to Jersey, you can bet in your app legally now. It's not illegal anymore. So people are talking about it. So I'm thinking to myself, you know, we used to do back in the day. We used to do a video called The Edge. If you want to YouTube videos of The Edge, Sean Brace and I, former colleague, we used to do. He used to partner up with GodfatherLocks.com, and we used to do a 5 or 6 minute clip about the weekend's games. I'm thinking of doing like a half-hour Wednesday night. Talk about the weekend games as far as the gambling aspect. Have nothing to do with discussing sports. It's just strictly gambling show. I think it's a great way to do it and add an element to what people are really doing out there. I know the Philadelphia Inquirer has a pick article every week now. He gives out his pick of the day. I think Vic cousin Vic or my man Vic or whatever his name is, Vegas Vic, I think his name is. So we'll definitely, if you guys are interested in doing that, we would definitely have a chance to throw out a show where we're just strictly talking gambling and maybe give out a free pick during a week or two, or discuss the lines before the weekends, and then we can the weekend games, we can kind of get into it. So if you want to take a ride to Monmouth, or if you want to take a ride to New Jersey, down to the casinos, I know we're going there in November for a birthday event, but you want to go down there and take a wager or two, you can do so. So it's just an idea. We're trying to take this show to the next level, and it cannot be done without these fine sponsors: Red Jewelers, the Law Office Salary Coupe, The Cut Above the Rest, your Lehigh Valley Realtor Eli Boutros, Laziz Mediterranean Grill, Biagio Pizzeria, JDM Photography, and Meza. And I failed to mention Meza Middle Eastern Restaurant. The biggest party of the year in Allentown is coming up in a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks away, October 26th. Big party happening at Meza. Call my man Rami up. Check out Meza's food. It's phenomenal. It's great. It's great food, great atmosphere, nightlife, music, hookah. You can't beat it. You sit outside on the deck. Yesterday it was like 65 degrees at night. It was beautiful, or 70 degrees. You could sit out there and have yourself a hookah right off of Mickley Ave in Whitehall. Check out Meza Middle Eastern Restaurant. The Elias Market and Bake Shop. We gave a big shout out to the Elias Market. I saw Gus was tuned in earlier. Big shout out to Gus and the family, the Elias family. Like we said, don't pull up a pack of chicken and see what Joe saw or what I saw when I pulled up my pack of meat a couple of months ago. Go to the butcher at the Elias Market and check him out. The Wooden Match,
Get your meat packed fresh.
Yeah, get your meat packed fresh, as we said earlier. The Wooden Match has been lit up the last couple of weekends there in Bethlehem, right off of 61 West Lehigh Street in Bethlehem. Beer, meat, cigars. That's what we got. Beer, meat, cigars. Best atmosphere that you're going to find in Bethlehem. Check out the Wooden Match in Bethlehem, PA. The Aladdin Restaurant, of course, 651 Union Boulevard, BYOB. give them a call, reservation. They're closed tomorrow, but Tuesday to Sunday, make yourself a reservation and get some fine food. The Essence Hookah Lounge, which I just mentioned earlier, 3rd Street in Bethlehem, about 2 minutes from the Sands Casino. Speaking of hookah, go on by and have yourself a hookah. And also enjoy some games that are on their TVs in the nightlife. Open to 4 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. If you're looking to extend your night, if you're young, you could do that. And of course, Eric Alnor, LLC, the counselor, 717-462-2928. Shout out to Eric and his experience. Google his name. That is Eric, ERICALNOR. If you're looking for a counselor, a licensed professional, email him at ericalnor@gmail.com, and he will sit down with you for a counseling session if you need it. Those are my sponsors, right? Another good show today. I think we kicked ass. McGregor, Khabib, to wrap up a bow on the show. Joe wanted McGregor, I think, right? That's what you said?
Yeah,
I'm a fan of McGregor too, but we saw, again, Joe said it best. He kept the belt, won the belt, but then lost it after he went after his coach, and totally pandemonium just broke loose. That was kind of the wrap up of that discussion. And
that was the dumbest.
Yeah.
You know what? He just took money out of his own pocket. That's dumb. Yeah.
Makes you look completely bad as a champion.
And you saw Conor, he just sat in the ring.
Yeah,
yeah. He's not going to jump and do those shenanigans and have someone sue him and all that big payday he just got.
It's not worth it.
Nah.
He knows he has got a career. Yeah, it's not worth it. The free picks of the day. Again, Texans and Chiefs. We gave that out at 11:15. Look, we're going to sit here on Saturday and find out what the Eagles are after today's game. I think the line right there telling you that it's going up to 3.5. I think the Eagles are probably safe to get a victory today. The Vikings, maybe it's just a bad year for Minnesota. They went out and got Kirk Cousins, spent an arm and a leg for Kirk Cousins, and now they could be struggling to start the year. It's a phenomenal show today. Thank you to everybody. A last question real quick from Ease. Ingram, Eckler as a flex. I would say Ingram. I would go Ingram. I know the Panthers defense is pretty good, but I would go Ingram as a tight end spot right there. I think the Giants, I know we ripped the Giants a little bit today, some of the listeners, but I would go Ingram. Just too many weapons. I can actually see that Giants-Panthers game being kind of high scoring. I don't know why. I'm not an over-under guy. But
and don't forget about the Abby's toy drive.
Yeah, yes. I'm sorry. That's what I wanted to talk about. So, as you know, and I mentioned this earlier on the show, with you guys about what's happening in the community and some of the things that we've seen happen as of late. The car bomb being one of them, which was ridiculous, took over the whole community, right? In Allentown, everybody was talking about it. There was a recent shooting too locally that was bogus, and I don't know what's going on with people these days, but there is something going on for a good friend of ours, someone in the community. Look, as being a father, and Joe, you're a father of to my 2 great nephews, and of course my 2 great sons, babies that are growing. I don't even know how I'm going to say this on the show, but I'm going to say it in straight face. It's a situation with one of our friends, of course, Abby, his daughter Ariella. Okay, Ariella's toy giving extravaganza is something that this girl has been battling a disease that's very rare. I think, and I don't even know. I don't even give out the details too much because again, my hair will stand up, and I don't want to discuss it too much. But there's a way to support what she's going through, and it's through CHOP. And this, I'm going to read you the flyer, and of course, if you've got something to donate and something to give on Amazon and a wish list, please do so. Okay, me and my wife were talking about this yesterday, saying Christmas is coming up. We're going to start planning what we're getting for my nephews, my nieces, and the kids, and what we're going to buy my sons. And then I look at this, I'm saying we're definitely going to give to this because me and my wife about a year ago, we donated to a young girl who had cancer in Bethlehem. There was a whole thing on Facebook that was going around. I don't even know if it was a GoFundMe or if it was just a Make-A-Wish list, and we helped her out. And it was somebody we didn't know. So we're going to do the same for someone we do know. And Ariella, of course, is she's fighting a diagnosis of a rare disease. While at CHOP, Ariella was overwhelmed by the generosity of family and friends who sent her gifts to entertain her during her hospital stays. This year, Ariella wants to spread joy to other kids, okay, who have to spend the holidays at CHOP, but we need your help. What a phenomenal cause this is, right, Joe? I mean, this is beyond excellent for these kids that are at CHOP to get things. So how can you donate? Drop any unwrapped packages and gifts of your choice to Abby Jarrett. And of course, you can get connected to her through my Facebook page. We're going to put out the flyer on the Facebook page if you want to donate, family, friends, or anybody else. You can also copy and paste the link below. So the flyer is going to be posted as soon as I hit end on the show. I'm going to throw up this flyer right where you're watching the show. So if you're watching me on Facebook Live, you're going to see this flyer in about 2 minutes. The gifts will be mailed to Ariella's home and delivered to the patients at CHOP on December 21st of 2018, which is 4 days before Christmas. Please, please, please share the page. Let's work together to make lots of kids smile. This is also a great way to teach children to give joy of giving rather than receiving. And the wish list is the link on the bottom. I will post this. Please, if you've got anything to give, donate to Ariella's Toy Giving Extravaganza, because she was at CHOP and these other kids are down at CHOP. You know, and I
dig deep.
Yes, dig deep. And
if you're willing to spend $12 on a pack of cigarettes, you can spend $5 on a toy.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and then what's crazy when you say that, you know, I recently, you know, have seen people go to the casinos, right? And they're out there. And I joke about the gambling. It's not a joke. It's entertainment. People gamble. There's people out there that would wager on games rather than doing something like this. Do both. If you have the ability to put $100 on the Eagles today, you have the ability to put $100 in a kid's pocket of a toy, right? You have. There's no arguing that. I mean, we're all paying bills. We're all living. But there is no excuse of, if you're going to do certain things, you can do something like this. I fully believe that. So please, everybody, take a look at the flyer that I post out. Give back to her. We're going to have either her or her husband jump on in the next couple of weeks. Joe, that was the update that I wanted to give to everybody. We're going to have them talk about this at length, whether we're at a live show or here at the studio. We're going to have one of them, whether Abby or her husband Danny, to come here and talk about what's going on with Ariella. And I think it opens up your eyes, especially if you have kids, what this means to them and their families. So definitely donate to CHOP. We'll talk to you guys next Saturday. Enjoy the football, you know, and sit back and enjoy the nice weather today. I don't know if it's going to rain or not, but hell, sit out back, enjoy a beer, enjoy the game, and feel good about yourself. That's doing this. I don't know how you feel, Joe. Don't you feel better about yourself when you do something like this? I always feel like it's good karma, and you feel like you did something good for the world. When we donated to that girl last year, I told my wife, I said, this was the best thing I've done. You know, just giving back to somebody who's sick and is going through a battle like that. So
absolutely. No, I also have another YouTube channel, 610 Photos at JDM Photography at YouTube.
Okay.
And we're helping out the Park Ridge Community Ministries get their service online every so often. So we're doing a lot of volunteer work.
Yeah.
So that
is that the church that you went to last week? Okay.
Yeah. So that channel's about that, and we're gonna have some tech reviews, some little stuff, just some little minor entertainment.
Beautiful.
Good channel. So I will put a terrarium TV video up. I got to get some more technical info, but for those of you that your terrarium isn't working up, look us up. 610 Photos, JDM Photography on YouTube. And while you're there, subscribe, like, and share the YouTube across the board sports talk show.
Yeah, jdmphotography.net. And of
I need
course,
more coffee.
You mentioned the terrarium situation. I found out yesterday it was down again. I'm like, what the hell? I went on Twitter. So if you're looking for anything, there you go. So say it again, Joe. 610.
It's 610 Photos and JDM Photography. It's a long name on YouTube.
It's okay. It's all right. 610 Photos and JDM Photography. And of course, across the board sports talk show on YouTube.
That'll be on by tonight. It's not on right now, so don't go. Don't
get mad and go. People probably searching like, where the hell is this? But yeah, get to that. When you're watching Texans Cowboys, it should be on 8 o'clock tonight. Yeah. Hopefully, it'll be up and loaded. It was a phenomenal show. We went over the time length, which is okay. There's no rules here. I can do whatever I want. It is across the board sports talk show. Red Jewelers, the law offices, Albert Yakub, The Cut, your Lehigh Valley Realtor, Eli Boutros, Laziz Mediterranean Grill, Biagio Pizzeria, JDM Photography, Mesa Middle Eastern Restaurant, Elias Market and Bake Shop, The Wooden Match, Aladdin Restaurant, Essence Hookah Lounge, and Eric Alnor LLC. The show could not be possible without you 12 fine advertisers that have backed the show. If you're looking to become an advertiser, reach out to me at Across the Board Sports Talk Show. I'm looking to do live shows. So anybody listening right now, if you want to do some more live shows, tune in. We've got a couple of them scheduled coming up with The Cut. We'll probably do one with Albert. We'll do another one at the Wooden Match with Albert coming up. And also Laziz and Eli Boutros with that special Q&A about buying and selling a home. Enjoy the Eagles game. Enjoy the Cowboys game, Giants game. Your NFL Sunday. Set your lineup. We'll talk to you next Saturday on Across the Board Sports Talk Show. And give to the Ariella's Toy Extravaganza. Thank you.
Dig deep.